does life in paradise conditions lead to? And what did the experiment Universe 25 help understand? How will animals behave immersed in the virtual medium? How clever are birds, really? Today, I'll tell you about the most interesting and unusual experiments with animals. The next experiment is much more serious. It's connected with the study of pigeons and their superstitions. The essence of what's happening is as follows. A small door is constantly opened in front of the bird, the light comes on, and there's food there. It happens regularly, every 5 minutes. Before that, the bird was not fed, to have a feeling of hunger and a desire to eat something. So when the pigeon saw the food, it was happy and immediately grabbed it. Everything was going fine, but at one point the experimenters stopped putting food in. Meanwhile, the door kept opening every 5 minutes. The pigeons were in despair. They wanted to eat, but no food appeared. And then, being in an unenviable position, they began to make associations and appeal to superstition. Pigeons revolved around their axis, flapped their wings, pecked non-existent grain, in general, invented the most bizarre forms of behavior which, in their opinion, should have opened the door for them, behind which there would have been food. Simply put, the birds were constructing cause and effect relationships between two events. Hungry pigeons, placed in a different environment, could repeat a memorized movement up to 10,000 times even though no food appeared. This suggests that what became important to animals in the course of evolution was not how things actually worked, but what they had to do to get the desired result. The topic of implanting something into our brains is becoming more and more real, given how fast technology is developing. And of course, all such experiments classically start with animals, in this case, rats. Back in the 20th century, a group of neuroscientists decided to conduct a unique experiment. Its essence was clear, though not so easy to realize. It was necessary to implant electrodes into the brain of the experimental rat and in one particular department, and then look at how it reacts to stimulants. When researchers identified where that area was, they noticed that the rat didn't run away when stimulated, and then people did something a little bit different. They created a machine that allowed the rodent to stimulate itself. It turned out that when stimulating some areas of the brain, the rat did not press the button, but when stimulating others, on the contrary, it did it very enthusiastically. The septal area is part of the limbic system of the brain, which is responsible for emotions and feelings of reward. If rats are stimulated, they become fanatics. The animals spend 90% of their time pressing a button, and it can last 3, 6, or even 12 hours. But the test didn't end there. Neurobiologists kept the rats hungry for a while and then launched them into a maze, on one side of which there was food, and on the other, the coveted button. And what would you think? The animals still rushed to the lever because brain stimulation is directly more effective than eating food. As you've already thought in relation to people, these are illegal substances that have the same effect on people, especially heavy ones. And animals, as experience has shown, are no exception in this respect. Clever crows. Bird brains. You ever heard this expression? I think many people know that it means a shallow and feeble mind. But how right is it to express it in such a way in relation to birds? Let's take the ordinary crows as an example. They've been experimented on more than once, and believe me, the results were amazing. Let's start with the fact that their brain, from the total body weight, occupies about 1%. In humans, this figure is 2 times higher, and in monkeys, 1.5. In addition, in their brains there are no crinkles. However, this does not mean that they cannot think logically for this reason. It's just that a different part of the brain is responsible for this process. The corvids are the most intelligent birds. The second feathered geniuses are parrots, but we'll talk about them later. For now, let's take a look at the experiments we've been doing with crows. And the first thing I suggest we look at is their game. These creatures are constantly flipping pebbles in flight or riding from rooftops on various debris. And you say, so what? Is that like a great mind? Actually, yes. It's an advanced type of game that requires mental ability. Not every animal is able to play with a neutral object that's not food or reproductive because there are no instincts involved and you have to be imaginative. But where imagination is even more important is in an experiment that scientists did. They put 2 rooks in an enclosed space and showed them food, but getting to it was not an easy task. They had to pull different ends of a string at the same time to get the food. If they pulled one end, the rope would simply slip out of the loop and the food would be impossible to get. It was found out that the feathered birds, which were on good terms, coped with this task faster. The others did not fail the experiment either, but took longer to do it. Those were magpies that excelled in another experiment related to recognizing themselves in the mirror. They were painted on the neck. On those places, they could not be seen without the help of a mirror. Then they were taken into a room where they could look at their reflection. At first, magpies showed aggression. They thought it was someone else. But soon they calmed down, showed intelligence, and realized it was them. And here is another proof of the cleverness of corvids. There was a treat floating in a vessel half filled with water. To get it, the crow had to raise the level of the liquid by dipping stones into it. They had no physics lessons, and their parents were unlikely to have told them anything of the sort. It's likely that crows are just perfectly oriented in space and by trial and error determine what they should do. Thus, the clever birds chose bigger stones and quickly solved the riddle. And now, as promised, let's talk about parrots. One of the latest experiments proved that these creatures, or parrots more precisely, can help their loved ones even when they don't benefit from it. I think it's not necessary to explain that not all animals are capable of such selfless behavior. So the experiment involved 6 females and 2 males. For the experiment, scientists built a fully transparent box divided by an invisible partition into 2 parts. In the front part of the box, approximately in the middle of each of the resulting sections, scientists made a hole where the parrot could stick its head. The specialists made the same hole in the partition between the sections. At the very beginning of the experiment, the outer hole in one of the sections was closed. In both parts of the box, the scientists placed 1 parrot each. The experiment put 10 small metal rings in the section with the closed outer opening. The previously trained birds understood that these rings had to be returned to the human, and for this they would be rewarded with food. However, only 1 parrot had the rings, and it was one that could not pass them back to the human directly. And what do you think? The gray parrot started passing food to its neighbor to give to the human. They realized they wouldn't get the food, but the desire to help the neighbor was still higher. It was as if the parrots understood. It was either no one or their neighbor, so why be greedy? And yes, although the study was conducted on a relatively small number of test subjects, scientists still believe that different parrots have developed their own idea of the rules, who to trust and who not to trust. Universe 25. The Universe 25 experiment was a study conducted in the 1970s by the psychologist John Calhoun. The purpose of the study was to determine the effects of various factors on the behavior and social organization of mice. Calhoun created an artificial utopia for the mice, providing them with unlimited food and water, as well as space to live and reproduce. During the experiment, he observed the mice's behavior and changes in their social structure. Shortly after the experiment began, the mice split into 2 groups. The first group of mice began to live in the central well, where they bred and lived relatively quiet lives. The second group of mice moved to the periphery of the colony, where conditions were harsher and more dangerous. These mice became aggressive and began actively breeding to compensate for the high mortality rate. Over time, the first group of mice became inactive and infantile, while the second group became aggressive and violent. This caused the mice to suffer from various diseases and lose interest in life. In the end, the experiment showed that unlimited access to resources and lack of natural constraints can lead to negative changes in the behavior and social structure of animals. Flying frog. In 2005, a group of scientists from the Netherlands conducted an experiment to lift a living creature into the air. Nothing like this had ever been done before, which made the experiment have a high chance of becoming truly legendary. For the realization of the conceived, people used diamagnetic materials, which are not attracted to magnets, but on the contrary repelled from them. In general, diamagnetics are such substances that have negative magnetic susceptibility. To put it simply, they repel from any source of magnetic field. But the force with which this happens is so small that in a field of ordinary magnitude it's almost imperceptible. And it seems that they do not interact with the magnetic field in any way. However, the nuance of the experiment was this. These very diamagnetics that surrounded the living beings were in turn surrounded by a strong magnetic field. No one knew what would come out of this, but the result was that the animals took off into the air. This experiment demonstrated the possibility of using diamagnetic levitation to create new technologies in the fields of biomedicine and ecology. In addition, it showed that such materials could be used to create safe and environmentally friendly vehicles that would carry all the same living creatures. Virtual Reality Room. Scientists have created a system that allows you to immerse animals in virtual reality. This system is called Fremo VR. With its help, people can observe the behavior of animals in the digital world and benefit from it. Unlike other experiments with submerging animals in a virtual environment, this time the subjects were able to move freely. Thanks to multiple high-speed cameras, the animals saw images on the walls of the arena that were continuously synchronized with their movements. This made them feel as if they'd just been teleported to another dimension but were still in control of their bodies. In reality, they were in an enclosed space surrounded by screens. In one experiment with this system, researchers projected aliens from a video game onto the walls of an aquarium. The images were constantly updated and moved in real time, so they looked like three-dimensional to the swimming fish. Scientists note that the fish reacted to the aliens as if they were real neighbors and tried to move in a pack with them. But flies flew around virtual obstacles, not perceiving them as drawn. The essence of the experiment was simple. People wanted to see if VR technology could be used to study the animal world, if it was possible to expand the understanding of how animals build cognitive maps with its use, how they orient themselves in space, and how they interact with other individuals. As the experiments have shown, this is a distinct possibility. Plus, researchers can use the system to teach animals new skills. For example, they can teach them to perform certain actions in a virtual world and then transfer these skills to the real world. At the same time, neither humans nor the subjects themselves are at risk while doing so. In the next experiment, biologists try to find out whether monkeys can learn to use money. To do this, they taught the subjects to bring pebbles in exchange for food. For each pebble, the monkey received one piece of cucumber. The primates quickly oriented themselves and began to find resources for their sustenance. Surprisingly, it was observed that they even set aside stones so that they could get more food at a time. All was going well, but then the idol was suddenly broken as humans took their experiments a step further. Monkeys, working in pairs, began to receive different rewards. One of the primates was given a grape instead of a cucumber. Individuals who received cucumbers refused to eat them, and in half of the cases stopped bringing pebbles at all. When one of the monkeys was given grapes without pebbles, the situation worsened even more. The second monkey angrily threw his stone and almost stopped participating in the trade. He was indignant at such injustice. Apparently, an inner sense of justice is embedded not only in humans but also in primates. Everyone wants earnings, trade, and all that sort of thing to take place on equal terms and in no other way. Okay, now I'm going to tell you about an interesting experiment involving cockatoos. In this study, scientists monitored populations of Goffin's cockatoos in Australia and New Guinea. They set up special cameras and instructed the birds to catch cashews instead of termites. To do this, the scientists made a box with a nut behind a transparent paper membrane. To get to the target, the cockatoos had to pierce the membrane. It turned out that these parrots easily use various tools to extract food, as well as to protect themselves from predators and communicate with relatives. For example, they use tree branches to create nests, stones to break nuts, and cries to warn of anger. As parts of the experiment, however, the cockatoos quickly learned how to extract cashews by piercing the membrane with a pointed stick. 2 birds completed the task within 35 seconds and at the first attempt. Most of the test subjects carried the toolkit as needed, and some cockatoos learned to carry 2 tools at once. This suggests that, among other things, the birds also understand when and what is best for them to use. After a story about the experiments with cockatoos, let's transfer ourselves to really striking moments that were captured on camera. Leopards are dangerous creatures, and the creepy thing is that in their habitat there is literally nowhere to hide from them. They can sneak into a house and sneak up on an unsuspecting person. That's exactly what a CCTV camera in India captured. A leopard got onto the property, hid, and stayed hidden. It was at night and it was difficult to see the predator, so it was not surprising that this woman didn't notice it. She sat down on the porch to rest. The leopard got timing right and attacked her. Amazingly, the woman managed to fight the predator off with a crutch. A couple of swings were enough for the big cat to escape. Fortunately, it was not able to seriously injure her. And sometimes this happens. This also happened in India. A man was sitting near some entrance and just resting. At that moment, a leopard ran behind him. The man saw it, but he didn't care at all. It was like seeing an ordinary house cat. After a while, he realized who it was and started looking around and getting nervous. Apparently, the man was napping, so he didn't immediately realize what had happened. Driving without a license is dangerous, but it's even more dangerous when such a driver without a license is a dog. Look what a camera caught in Canada. A 10-year-old Mastiff named Titan got into the owner's golf cart. Of course, he did it out of curiosity, but he accidentally pressed something and the golf cart started moving. And of course, as luck would have it, it hit the car and not, for example, a slide. That's how you get into trouble out of the blue. Well, at least the video turned out to be unusual. I don't know what's worse, living in a leopard habitat or a bear habitat. You can decide for yourself by watching this video. Here, a bear came to visit an American family. At first, it just sniffed something near the camera and assessed the situation, and then decided to taste the camera. Judging by the signal at the end of the video, it damaged the camera bad. And here's another camera lover. Only this time the camera turned out to be not so edible. Well, or at least durable. The gadget is intact, the incredible footage is gotten, and everyone is happy. Once again, we've got a bear. The camera's installed high up, so it won't be able to chew it. But that's not why it's here. The bear is more interested in the dumpsters. It started rummaging through one of them. It examined the contents long enough, pulled something out, and then realized that there was too much valuable stuff in the dumpster, so the bear just decided to take the dumpster with it. Or maybe the locals have such unusual garbage collectors and there's a garbage truck with another bear at the wheel nearby. In general, bears in North America are a big problem. They visit people every now and then, steal food, and so on. The authors of this video solved this problem in an original way by installing an unusual scarecrow. In itself, this clown is not very scary, but it has a secret. As soon as someone moves the dumpster, the doll comes to life and plays music. Look how effectively this works against the cheeky bears. The bear clearly wasn't expecting this, or maybe it's just afraid of clowns, like many of us. Everyone knows that dogs are loyal creatures which wait for their owners to come home so bad. But do you know exactly what they do while we're away? This faithful dog named Fibo will show you. The dog is restless. The owner left home at about 11 a.m., and until she came home at 8 p.m., Fibo waited impatiently for her to return. He sat and lay down, he stood by the bars, but every time he looked at the door. Fibo spent the final seconds jumping for joy. Does your dog greet you the same way? If yes, hit the like button. It's also known that dogs get along well with other pets, for example with other dogs or cats. But a rabbit is not the best companion for this four-legged animal. At least these two don't have the most peaceful relationship. Well, the dog stepped away, the rabbit came running, hid under a chair, and ran around the corner. When the dog returned, the rabbit boldly pushed it and ran away. The dog didn't like that, and I understand the pet. I wouldn't want to live with a bully like that either. The author of this video noticed that things were disappearing from his kitchen. Teeth marks were appearing on food, and noises were heard in the kitchen at night. He thought that the problem was a mouse, but the CCTV camera put everything in its place. It was Remy, the cat. Maybe there's something going on in your kitchen at night. I advise you to install a camera there. Still remember those bears and leopards that hang out around people's houses? Well, there's another animal that doesn't mind stopping by for a visit – the elephant. Right in the middle of the night, first one elephant came up to the house, followed by two more. Just imagine if the owner of the house had come outside at that time. That's clearly not the kind of company you'd invite over for a couple of cups of tea. But seriously, it's good that elephants didn't break anything and didn't cause chaos, because they're capable of it. Elephants are also capable of attacking people. Just because they're herbivores and seemingly slow giants doesn't mean anything. A couple was just outside the gates of their house when suddenly they saw an elephant coming towards them. They managed to run away and hide, which is a very good thing. The elephant was in a very bad and aggressive mood, so it could have done terrible things to them. It's not very pleasant when you get uninvited guests, especially when it comes to wild animals that rudely sneak into your homes. In this case, that guest was a cunning fox. It entered a house in Australia to look for something edible. The fox wandered around the house for several minutes, going from room to room, but found nothing. It was rebuffed by a dog. The little dog was not afraid of such a dangerous opponent and bravely chased it out of its house. You know that thing when cats jump up when you put a cucumber behind them? Well, something similar is observed in snow leopards, but they only need to see a security camera to be frightened. While this female snow leopard was sleeping, a camera was installed in its enclosure. And when the predator woke up, it obviously didn't expect such a change of interior. The reaction turned out to be very unusual and funny. Hopefully, the big cat then quickly got used to the new device. Either this dog mistook the guy for a hydrant or it liked him so much, but eventually it decided to mark him. The guy's resentment is understandable. Given that it happened at 7 in the morning, you could say he had a bad day from the start. As for me, the previous video was unexpected, but this video is even more unexpected. At first glance, nothing happens here, but if you look a little closer, you can see that something falls from the sky. As it turns out, it was a fish. But how's that even possible? Most likely the fish was dropped by some bird that was hunting it, and it's a good thing that the fish didn't fall on some local resident. They say it even dented a car when it fell. If someone had been hit on the head, it would have been very unpleasant. Although raccoons are cute, they are very brazen creatures. They can rudely enter the house and cause trouble even for the pets. In this case, it was a cat. The pet was calmly eating its food outdoors when a chubby raccoon came onto the porch. It didn't ask the cat to share, but just took all the food with a bowl. However, the raccoon ended up taking only the bowl. It scattered the food almost immediately. And here, everything is okay. There are a lot of raccoons, and each of them has its own bowl. No one steals from anyone. Everything's calm and quiet. But for no reason, the raccoons run away to different corners. It's kind of weird, isn't it? What made them do this? Maybe they sensed the approach of a human, or did they see a ghost? Write in the comments what you think about this. This video starts ordinary. A man simply opens a dumpster, but it's not that simple. There's already someone in the dumpster that he doesn't expect to see. Who do you think's in there? What animal's hiding in there? For those of you who think it was a bear, you guessed right. It seems that the bear was just as scared as the man. It didn't attack anyone, it just wanted to get away as soon as possible. As you can tell from the first few seconds of the video, there's going to be something to do with a wet floor here. The little dog is sliding, slipping, and barely standing on its feet. But the video is not about it at all. Soon, a bigger dog literally flies in and bolts a strike. It's not every day you see something like that. Dogs are hilarious creatures that can make any situation funny. For example, here a girl just went for a walk with her pets, but as luck would have it, a squirrel was running around that day. Of course, the dogs rushed after the prey, and the girl couldn't oppose anything to the power of the dog. You know that old joke about the dog that ate your homework? Well, this is quite possible, and it's okay if it's homework. It's much worse if a dog eats money, and even a decent amount of it. While the owner was not looking, the dog found cash under the laptop and ate it. Lunch cost $200, literally. Which of these moments surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Next, I'll show you strange and unexplained animal moments caught on camera. Sheep round dance. What happened in China is usually found only in horror movies or scary shows. Yes, nothing frankly terrible happened here, but you must admit that when sheep follow each other in one big round dance, it looks at least creepy. According to the owner on whose farm it happened, she'd never seen anything like it before. This carnival lasted 12 days. On the last day, it was as if a curse was reversed from the sheep and they instantly returned to their former familiar life. There are really many reasons why this might have happened, but to this day, no one can say anything for sure. Some believe that this is the result of an unknown disease of animals, while others have dubbed what was happening the harbinger of the end of days. What do you think about it? Write in the comments. Toad explosions. I think everyone these days has long known about such a thing as blowing frogs. Small children who often spend time in nature like to fool around doing it. Usually the blowing is done through a straw and kids have fun watching it, although it's a very brutal and inhumane method of entertainment. However, something worse has happened in Germany. It's as if some supreme being, invisible to us, secretly inflates toads in the streets and they explode before the eyes of passers-by. The frogs fly in different directions and people have no idea what to do about it. Environmental scientists and veterinarians put forward a variety of theories about what's happening. Here are some of them. An unknown virus, poisonous mushrooms poisoning the water, and even birds allegedly attacking and terrifying toads so much that the latter explode. So far, however, experts have not come to a consensus on the cause of what's happening. Be forewarned, the following story may seem a little inhumane and cruel to some. In general, everything has to do with animals on farms can be classified as such. The story begins in September 1945. Then a very ordinary Colorado family decided to make a delicious dinner, and the wife sent her husband out into the yard to get a chicken. Her husband, Lloyd Olson, went to the chicken coop, chose a target, which was a chicken named Mike, and began preparing him to meet the frying pan. Knowing that his wife adores the neck, the man took a long time to measure the axe strike so as to bring his beloved the largest piece possible. And so, when the moment came, the blade pierced the chicken's head, but something that had never happened before in history. Mike didn't pass out from the shock and unthinkable pain. He acted strangely for a while, and then came back to normal, as if nothing had ever happened. The stalwart bird went looking for crumbs around the yard and cleaning his feathers just like the rest of his buddies. When Olson found Mike sleeping with his head under his wing the next morning, he decided that since he had survived, he must go on living. Lloyd figured out a way to feed and water him with an eyedropper. A little more time passed and people did take the chicken to the vet to find out how this was even possible. It turned out that when the man struck with an axe, he missed the jugular vein. As a result, a blood clot saved Mike from death. Though his head was missing, Mike still had most of his brainstem and one ear. Since most of the chick's reflexes are controlled by the brain stem, Mike was able to stay very healthy and lived that way for about another year and a half. Red crab migration. To delve into the next story, we have to go to Australia and imagine that we've settled somewhere on the shores of the Indian Ocean. We live, have a good time, breathing in the fresh and warm air, listening to the waves and enjoying. It feels like we're in paradise. But then something happens that can be defined as a sign from above, or another harbinger of the end of days. A migration of crabs began to take place on our peaceful and beautiful island. From the outside, it looks as if a red blanket is gradually covering the whole land and moving in an unknown direction. Ignorant people would immediately go crazy and rack their brains trying to unravel the phenomenon. But fortunately for us, today we can simply get on the internet for answers. So this rare phenomenon is, as I said, crab migration. It happens every year. During this event, about 100 million crustaceans crawl out of the island forests and go toward the Indian Ocean. There's no barrier to this red carpet, be it roads, squares, yards, houses. Everything without exception is covered by the fiery red crab blanket. The purpose of this expedition is to lay eggs. And since the living creatures are very reverent about the process, neither houses nor yards nor any other obstacle can stop the crabs. A fun fact, usually these crustaceans move very little, maybe 5 to 10 minutes a day. However, during the mating season, their bodies produce a special hormone that gives them strength for such a victorious march. The males rush to the front and are among the first to reach the destination. They come to the beach and start warming the hole for their females. Magpies can empathize too. This is the conclusion reached by scientists who have witnessed the funeral ritual of these birds. It's observed not often, but the main thing is that it's there. Birds gather together, stand or walk around the dead individual, and talk something. They touch feathers of the dead magpie as if they were grooming it. They may also put grass and twigs on the body. To put it simply, the feathered creatures say goodbye to their congeners just like humans do. Many of the internet users thought it was a hell of a coincidence and nothing like this happens in the life of magpies. The other part of people have a different opinion. They think that this funeral ritual of birds is something intimate, something that they don't do for people. That's why we haven't seen something like this before. What do you think? Write in the comments. The nightmare of arachnophobes. Now, imagine this. You go outside, look up to the sky, and see the following picture. Above your head there are dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of small spiders. They all move in a chaotic direction and make it feel like it's raining arthropods outside. How would you react? I'm sure those who are afraid of these creatures would certainly go crazy. Well, they're lucky if they were not born in Brazil because it was not Photoshop stuff, special effects, and not a clip from a movie, but the real video from the hot country shot by eyewitnesses. As scientists say, spiders of this species weave webs between bushes and trees. Going out in especially hot weather to hunt, they can literally hover in the air, creating the illusion that they're soaring in the sky. In reality, however, this is not the case. Spiders weave a very thin web. It's so thin that it's not visible to the human eye. In this suspended state, arthropods spend all evening and all night, and in the morning they return back to their nests. Nevertheless, just imagine the possible reaction of a person seeing this phenomenon for the first time and having no idea that it's possible. Strange rainbow. You must admit that regardless of whether you're afraid of spiders or not, it's much more pleasant to look up and see not a bunch of arthropods, but a very beautiful and rare rainbow, just like in this footage. This natural phenomenon in the form of a rainbow cloud was observed in Haikou City, Hainan Province, China. What is it? Experts call such rainbow clouds a pileus. Such a thing is formed over a cumulus or cumulonimbus cloud during a thunderous updraft. When sunlight hits millions of tiny ice crystals or water droplets in the cloud, the light diffracts and creates bright rainbow colors. Even through the screen, it looks fantastic. Imagine how amazing it is to see this miracle in person. As practice shows, not only nature can create something unique and fantastically beautiful in the sky, the well-known starling birds are also capable of this. If you don't know, these birds have one unique ability, the ability to dance stunningly. And no, this isn't what you're thinking. They will not stand on two legs and dance like humans to their favorite track. Everything here is much more prosaic and airy, literally and figuratively. Murmuration, as the process is called, is a real mystery of nature. Its interest lies in the fact that normal flight requires a lot of energy, and birds use it very efficiently. But here it's quite the opposite, without any practical sense. The birds simply disperse and gather together like dancing couples of people or a crowd at a stadium. But unlike fans, these movements are not rehearsed. Everything happens spontaneously. The flock disintegrates into parts and merges into one again. The resulting figures resemble a drop, a figure of 8, and sometimes a single giant bird. In addition, here's another mystery. The birds fly quite fast, up to 30 miles per hour, but they do not collide and they do not go off course. Murmurations have no leader. All movements are regulated by individuals. A skunk sprayed a bear. Doesn't take a genius to know that the stench of a skunk is not the best experience one can have. Fortunately, or unfortunately, not all animals in the wild have learned this lesson. This explains why this inquisitive bear eventually walked away with a disgruntled expression on its face. After spotting the skunk from afar, the bear became interested and approached. Perhaps it even wanted to snack on the skunk. But instead of becoming easy prey for the huge bear, the skunk got into action, spraying its magical scent on the bear. This caused the bear to immediately run back into the woods. I think this was expected, but it's still strange that the skunk actually defeated the bear, which is dozens of times bigger than the skunk itself. Starlings. How would you feel if a bird started pecking you in the back of the head? I agree, it doesn't sound very pleasant, but apparently not for all people. Some even enjoy such a unique experience. Starlings are wonderful birds that seem to enjoy pecking people. Surprisingly, quite a number of people flock to these birds and indulge in their favorite pastime. What's more, it can be good for humans as well. According to some people, the nimble little birds are attracted to lice or dander, so starlings play the role of a kind of specialist in human head care.
Would you like to experience such a startling experiment for yourself? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned to see other moments of unusual and astounding animal behavior. Pedestrian fish. This video captures the very moment when the overflowing river confused the aquatic inhabitants. The fish tried to cross the flooded road to get back to their water body. Surprisingly, they managed to do so quite quickly. Nevertheless, it's amusing to watch the fish on the side of the road flounder with great enthusiasm, trying to swim out. Mongoose and warthog. Animals are inquisitive, curious, and affectionate by nature. Just look at this footage of a mongoose courting a robotic warthog. The animals didn't realize that their guest wasn't a living creature, but they showed immense love and care for their new friend nonetheless. That's exactly what our human world sometimes needs too, isn't it? After some time of courtship, the robot received a free transformation. And people, by the way, pay money for it. A hippo and a watermelon. The hippo is one of the most dangerous animals on the planet, capable of causing great harm to virtually any animal it wants to attack. This video is a great way to see once again the power of hippo's jaws and the need to think a few times before approaching it. As you can see, hippos easily bite an entire watermelon at a time, enjoying the sweet, juicy taste. A hermit crab with a doll's head. Dolls originated as harmless toys for children, but they've long occupied major roles in the highest-grossing and most popular horror movies. And it's okay with the movies, you don't have to watch them. But what would you do if you saw this while walking along an evening beach and admiring the sunset? A group of tourists spotted a doll's head crawling along Thailand's seashore. Most were shocked by the scene straight out of a horror movie, but as it turned out, there was no mysticism here. It was just a hermit crab that decided that a torn-off doll's head was the perfect option for a shell. In fact, these sea creatures often use different objects as portable homes. This crab, for example, appropriated a part from a constructor. Many people describe such incidents as horrifying nightmares, but it seems that nature itself is alluding to one of the global eco-problems – garbage pollution in the ocean. But let's come back to more dangerous land animals. In other words, to snakes. I wouldn't want to be in a situation like this girl. It's generally unpleasant when a snake slithers around you, and if you have to hide from it, it's doubly unpleasant and even creepy. But to me, it's even creepier to see a snake like this through the doorbell camera. Just look how long it is. The snake was crawling upwards, and I thought it was going to stay there and scare the residents sooner or later, but eventually it crawled away. The doorbell camera is an interesting thing in general. Thanks to it, you can see not only a giant snake that came to visit you, but also, for example, such a huge moose. The beast was exploring something near a house in America and then came to the door. At that moment, its congener joined it. Although moose are not predatory creatures, they can be aggressive, which means they're dangerous. But here, everything was only about curiosity. The animals did not cause chaos. Here's another guest that decided to visit the author of the next video. The bumblebee hovered right next to the camera, and we got some interesting footage. Personally, I've never seen bumblebees soaring right next to the camera. Raccoons are a pain in the neck for many people in America. These cute but cheeky predators often come to houses looking for something tasty or useful. That's what happened here. A raccoon came up to the front porch and started sniffing around. It seemed like it was about to find something, but suddenly it was startled by a cat. It was out of the blue. Did you twitch too? The raccoon was scared, and the animal respected such a defender of the house. Look, it even bowed to the cat. At least it was the bow that reminded me of it. Well, after that, the raccoon carefully left so as to not provoke the cat into doing something more serious. I don't know why there's a camera here. There doesn't seem to be anything of value, just an ordinary wasteland in the backyard. But thanks to this camera, we can see a sparring between two bears. They turned the backyard into a kind of ring and had a fight. The bears stand on their hind legs, one pressures the other, and then the same thing continues when they're on four paws. But I think the fight did not meet expectations. We wanted more of a spectacular fight, right? But the bears just went into the thicket. Maybe the real fight was already there without any cameras. Well, let's leave the CCTV cameras because incredible and interesting moments featuring animals are caught on ordinary cameras as well. Here, for example, they filmed an octopus. It would seem that there can be nothing unusual here. Well, it lies on the seabed, then crawls somewhere. So what? But now the octopus will show you a trick. 2 seconds pass, and it's gone. Even Harry Houdini would be amazed at that. It's unbelievable how the cephalopod squeezed through that tiny hole and literally vanished before our eyes. In fact, it's a superpower that every octopus has. These creatures are masters of escape and illusion. Even a large octopus can squeeze through a small hole without much effort. Octopuses are very elastic and flexible. They have no bones, and they're able to change the shape of their body. The main thing is to get their jaws through, and everything else will follow without difficulty. Do you like seashells? I mean, the ones that you can see on the beach or the seabed? If you're a fan of them, you'll definitely like this footage. Take a look at this beautiful seashell. However, it's not a shell at all, it's an octopus again. Yes, these creatures are not only able to squeeze through tiny holes, but also perfectly disguise themselves. Octopuses have complex chromatophore organs. Using a combination of pigment, nerves, and muscles, the octopus manipulates its chromatophores to change its color and even its appearance. It can turn itself into a shell or disguise itself as simple sand or rock. This is what octopuses do to avoid being found by predators and to avoid being disturbed by anyone. And here's another master of disguise. If you still do not understand what the miracle is crawling on the seabed, I'll tell you. It's a flamboyant cuttlefish. It changes its color on the go depending on what surrounds it. Its camouflage serves the same purpose as an octopus, to fool predators. But it's not as harmless as it may seem. The flamboyant cuttlefish is extremely venomous. One dose of its venom is enough to kill 26 adults. Its venom paralyzes the prey so severely that they may be declared dead, although they'll still be conscious. In general, it's a very insidious sea creature, and it's better to stay away from it. It's no secret that crows are very intelligent birds. And if you don't believe it or just forgot about it, then look here. The crow arrived with a plastic bottle, and it didn't leave it on the ground. It decided to throw it in a special container for plastic waste. The bird shoved the bottle there, and the people went wild. You bet. Even people themselves do not always dispose of the waste properly. Maybe we should learn from this crow. Surely, many of you who watched Star Wars as a child wanted to become a Jedi. So these cats also decided to learn the secret of Force. The tailed Padawans are lucky their master is Yoda himself. Yoda decided not to hesitate and immediately showed them how to wield a lightsaber. These Padawans have a long way to go before they can become as great as this Jedi Master. I don't know about you, but I associate the pier with something calm and serene. There are all these boats with yachts, seagulls are flying there. It's not deep. Can there be anything creepy near the pier? Turns out there can be. Orcas, for example. Look at these orcas swimming right next to the pier. That's something you don't see every day. I don't know what they were doing there, whether they were looking for prey or just decided to say hello to people, but it looks unusual. Perhaps this is unusual only for me, but those who live by the sea have long been used to it. Do you know what they're used to in Alaska? Bears. And I'm not even talking about the fact that you can easily encounter them here in the woods or near your house. Bears walk right in the cities here. Here, one of them surprised the residents of the city of Juneau with its visit. The black bear walks around near the dumpsters, sniffs something, and fortunately does not stay for long. Not finding anything suitable, the bear went up the stairs. Let's add a little cuteness to this episode. I think each of you has seen adult sloths, but have you seen baby sloths? If not, now is a great opportunity to fix that. Look at the mother and its baby sloth climbing a tree. The mother sloth manages to do it without any problems, but the baby hasn't learned to climb as well, so the mom helps it. The baby clings to it, holds onto its back, and then wraps its arms around it and sort of hugs its mother. I'd like to believe it was exactly a hug. All in all, this clip is very cute. And here's another mother from the animal world. However, its babies are all wrong. Yes, they're really kittens, and they're being fed with dog milk. As it turned out, the mother cat got sick with an infection and couldn't feed its kittens. And then a shelter employee brought the babies to her home. Her dog didn't hesitate and immediately took care of the babies. Such a heroic mother definitely deserves a like from you. Raccoons are not stupid creatures, and if you doubt it anyway, then just take a look at this clip. A family of raccoons overcomes an obstacle in the form of a wall. All of them are already in the right place, except for one baby, and then teamwork comes into play. The mom hangs from the wall to grab the baby and drag it up, and the other little raccoons hold their mother. As a result, the operation was successful and the family was reunited. We imagine turtles as harmless and unhurried big creatures which are not capable of attacking a person. But we're wrong. This turtle will prove it to you now. It didn't like that the diver was filming it on camera, so it turned around and abruptly attacked him. Nothing terrible happened. The diver wasn't injured, but it was unexpected. These turtles are not so harmless. But there's no doubt about sharks. We know that they seem to be just waiting to attack and harm someone. But sharks are different. One can even dance with some of them. A diver asked a shark to dance and twirled with it in a slow dance. As for me, it's not only unusual, but also romantic. Speaking of divers, not only people can dive to the bottom, even dogs are capable of this. Well, at least this dog is a real diver. Her name is Misa. Her owner throws all sorts of objects into the sea, and Misa has to dive, find them, and bring them back. She's great at it. Misa's owner says that the dog easily dives to a depth of 15 feet. I bet even many of you haven't dived as deep as this tailed diver. Remember how lightning fast the dog reacted and dove underwater? Dogs in general are very fast creatures, but there are still faster animals. Cheetah. Let's start with the symbol of speed. The cheetah has already become a household name in terms of speed because it's the fastest land mammal in the world. This predator boasts a thin and light streamlined body, a small mass, developed lungs, as well as very strong paws. All these factors allow the cheetah to accelerate up to 81 miles per hour. However, this is the maximum capability. Cheetahs usually accelerate to 56 to 68 miles per hour, but even this is very impressive. Speaking of acceleration, this is the main feature of the cheetah's run. As I said in the beginning of the episode, at the start it can outrun even a racing car. Cheetah itself can be called a car because in just 3 seconds it accelerates from 0 to 68 miles per hour. Not all supercars can do that. However, unlike supercars, the cheetah is unable to maintain the phenomenal speed for a long time. Like other cats, it exhausts quickly enough. Incredible speed is the main thing this cat relies on when hunting. Usually the cheetah tracks its prey in an ambush and then rushes at it sharply. Hardly anyone has time to escape from such a tailed lightning. Even such swift animals as antelopes don't always have time to escape from the cheetah. On the other side of the world, however, there are herbivores that could run away from the cheetah and even outrun it in a race. I'm talking about the American pronghorn, the fastest herbivore on the planet. Many call the pronghorn the second fastest terrestrial animal on the planet, with a breakneck speed of up to 61 miles per hour. Not much less than the speed of a cheetah. At the same time, the pronghorn is hardier and can run not only fast but also long. After all, it learned to run away from frisky predators for a hefty distance. The pronghorn can maintain insane speed at a distance of 3 to 4 miles. It's quite enough to outrun wolves, coyotes, and lynxes, the main enemies of these horned sprinters. But neither the cheetah nor the pronghorn nor anyone else can compete with the absolute champion, the fastest animal on the planet. Many scientists unanimously recognize the peregrine falcon, a bird of prey from the falcon's family, as such an animal. The peregrine falcon develops its greatest speed during a dive. It glides down, tracks down the prey below it, chooses one of them, soars up, and then makes a sharp dive down. At this time, its speed can reach speeds of 199 miles per hour. But some researchers believe that this is not the limit and that the peregrine falcon can reach speeds of 242 miles per hour in a dive. That's 3 times the speed of the cheetah. Taking into account the sharp claws of the peregrine falcon and the considerable size of the bird, it's not surprising that after encountering the prey at such a breakneck speed, the falcon does not leave it even a chance. At such speeds, the claws sometimes strike so hard that even the head of a big enough prey can fall off. By the way, the peregrine falcon cannot be called the absolute leader in the world of birds. Yes, it really is the fastest animal on the planet, but if we take the usual horizontal flight, the peregrine falcon is inferior to the needle-tailed swift. In the usual horizontal flight, its speeds reach up to almost 106 miles per hour. Sailfish. If the peregrine falcon reigns in the sky, the sailfish reigns in the water. This fish is the fastest in the world. It lives in tropical, subtropical, and temperate waters of all oceans, and in each of them it amazes the water inhabitants with its insane speed. It can reach speeds of up to 68 miles per hour. Incredible speed helps the sailboat to hunt successfully. The swiftness is achieved by several factors. First, during fast swimming, the fish sail folds and retracts into a special notch on the back. Secondly, during acceleration, the sailfish uses turbulence, that is, the water forms whirls around the fish, which reduces water resistance. Few fish can compete with the sailfish, but there are some. One of them is the black marlin. It's a prime candidate for the role of the world's fastest fish, and it makes sense. Scientists believe that the sailfish is better at accelerating and gaining maximum speed, but the black marlin is better at swimming at the same high speed. This predator rushes through the water at speeds of over 53 miles per hour, so it easily catches up with its prey and catches up with boats and ships. Greyhound. Let's get back on land. There are other epic sprinters in addition to cheetahs and pronghorns. The greyhound is clearly one of them. This is the fastest dog in the world. The English greyhound was previously bred to hunt small game, so insane speed is in the blood of these dogs. The greyhound can easily catch up even a swift hare, because this predator accelerates up to 45 miles per hour. However, according to other reports, the highest speed of the greyhound is 42 miles per hour. Either way, any of these figures are phenomenal. For comparison, the American Pit Bull Terrier and German Shepherd can reach speeds of 30 miles per hour, and the Rottweiler can reach speeds of 25 miles per hour. What's interesting, the greyhound is so powerful and dangerous only during sprints. As soon as the sprint is over and the greyhound is off the race, it instantly turns into a cute dog. You'll want to get your own. Greyhounds are devoid of innate aggression, hardly bark, and behave unobtrusively. In addition, they do not spoil things, and they set affections upon all members of the family equally. It's even hard to believe that such a cutie would beat almost anyone in a sprint race. While we're on the subject of races, why not take a look at horses? These animals are literally made for spectacular races, but not many of them can prove themselves worthy of it. But not the thoroughbred horse, because it's the fastest in the world. The English thoroughbred horses are unsurpassed in their speed. Their norm is to gallop at a speed of 37 miles per hour. On the long distances over 2 miles, they gallop at an average speed of 34 miles per hour. And the all-time champion, by the nickname of Winning Brew, even set a Guinness World Record, speeding up to 43.6 miles per hour. Just imagine how hard the rider has to try not to fall off such a lightning-quick creature. It's one thing to watch a beautiful horse galloping at a race. It's quite another to watch a giant lizard run that can take your life. That's exactly what the praise of the parentee, the next impetuous creature in this episode, are watching. It's the largest of its kind in present-day Australia, and one of the largest lizards in the world as a whole. It reaches a length of 6.5 to 8 feet and weighs more than 44 pounds. Despite this, the adult is capable of speeding up to 25 miles per hour. The parentee may run both on 4 legs and on 2 hind legs. Speed, strength, and size are a serious combination. As the top predator in its range, the parentee can swiftly catch up with any animal and finish it off. People shouldn't relax either. It's known that the parentee is capable of knocking an adult person to the ground with one blow of its tail. The good news is that these lizards live far away from human habitation. Mexican free-tailed bat. Still remember how I told you about the fastest birds, the peregrine falcon and the needle-tailed swift? These feathered creatures could enjoy flying with the Mexican free-tailed bat. However, it's not a bird but a bat species. But that doesn't stop it from being a leader in some sense. This is not only the fastest bat, but also one of the fastest animals in horizontal flight. The speed of the Mexican free-tailed bat reaches 99 miles per hour, not much less than that of the needle-tailed swift. This species of bat is not aggressive at all, which is why the Mexican free-tailed bat is often used in various studies. For example, regarding the mechanism of ultrasonic communication. However, it's probably not easy for scientists to catch such frisky creatures. However, this cannot be called too difficult a task. Mexican free-tailed bats live in caves and super large colonies, up to thousands of individuals, so you can definitely catch someone. And let's finish with insects, because here too you can look at incredible speed. For example, the common dragonflies are very fast. They're one of the most common insects on the planet, but not everyone knows they're also one of the fastest. Dragonflies can move as fast as a car at a speed of 37 miles per hour. But some individuals accelerate even faster. When a dragonfly flaps its wings, the upper and lower wings form a collapsing wedge, causing a jet of air to be thrown backwards, creating a reactive force that pushes the dragonfly forward. The dragonfly's wing structure is ideal for fast flights, but these insects can fly as they want it all, very quickly or very slowly. They can suddenly change their flight direction or even freeze in the air. As for ground bugs, the tiger beetles from Australia have no equal. They reach speeds of 5.5 miles per hour. Compared to the flights of dragonflies, peregrine falcons, or cheetahs, this seems insignificant, but don't forget about their size. Considering the modest size of the beetle, it makes a leap to a distance of 125 body lengths in just a second. This is the same as if a person covered a distance of 700 feet in a second. Now that's impressive. Let's go back to Africa. In addition to honey badgers, there are plenty of aggressive and dangerous creatures, and the next one is the legendary black mamba. By the way, have you ever wondered why the black mamba is called black? After all, it's not black at all, but olive or at most grayish-brown. In fact, the black mamba owes its name to its black mouth, which it displays to intimidate its opponent. In fact, it can intimidate anyone for no particular good reason, because this is one of the most aggressive reptiles in the world. The king cobra is much calmer. It opens up its signature hood and waits until the offender comes to their senses. The black mamba also stretches and hisses but doesn't wait long. It can quickly pounce on a person or an animal, and the latter will have a hard time. The black mamba is very fast in general. It attacks with lightning speed, getting its fangs and injecting venom into the offender. The venom contains neurotoxins that, in the absence of an antidote, lead to paralysis and respiratory failure in a matter of hours. Buffalo. This giant shares its habitat with the black mamba. Unlike it, it's not a predator for buffaloes or bulls, but that doesn't mean anything yet. Despite its herbivorous nature, the buffalo is known for its aggression and has a low boiling point. The enraged 6.5-foot tall giant, weighing about a ton, is an extremely dangerous creature. In contrast to the black mamba, African buffaloes do not attack very quickly. Sometimes their attacks look even unsightly. The giant runs to the offender waddlingly, but you can be sure it'll make it, and then it'll hit you like a ton of bricks. And in some cases, the buffalo can speed up to 37 miles per hour in turbo mode. Imagine what it's like to be hit at that speed. It's the same as getting hit by a car, unless the car has no sharp horns and doesn't finish you off. Unfortunately, many people underestimate the power and aggression of the African buffalo, which is why they kill lots of people every year. The next animal of the episode is even more dangerous, and you probably already know what creature I'm talking about. Crocodile? Wrong. The correct answer is the hippo. According to statistics, these giants are the ones that kill the most people every year in Africa among all the animals, not counting the malaria mosquitoes. That's about 500 people every year. This isn't surprising because the hippo is a real live tank. It can weigh more than 3 tons, and its body's at least 10 feet long, and its skin is 1.5 inches thick. Not every shot or knife can bring down such a giant. And without a weapon, you can't stand against a hippo. The hippo, like the buffalo, is a herbivore, but it often attacks antelopes, lions, crocodiles, and even buffaloes. At the same time, in Africa itself, hardly anyone dares to hunt hippos. Local animals understand that it's almost impossible to eliminate such an aggressive target. The same can be said about the final animal of this episode, the saltwater crocodile. It's the largest reptile on the planet, the largest crocodile, and the largest terrestrial predator in the world. Reaching a length of 20 to 23 feet, saltwater crocodiles weigh over a ton. They have the most powerful bite force in the world at the moment, no natural enemies but unbridled aggression. Saltwater crocodiles crush and grind the bones of even the largest animals, attack any creature they want, and they feel equally good in both fresh and seawater. In general, it's almost a perfect predator, which is extremely difficult to cope with. For this reason, saltwater crocodiles are among those animals that people capture not for usual hunting or trade, but for safety. This is the only way to save tens and hundreds of innocent lives. That's all, guys. Which animal do you personally consider to be the most aggressive in the world? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you later.